purpose of conducting the school district's business and is not to be considered as a community meeting. There will be an opportunity for public participation during the meeting, and comments are limited to 3 minutes per individual. The board will listen to comments but may not respond during the meeting. If you wish to address the board, please submit a comment card immediately. Roll call. Ashanti Bland, Board President.
Gerald B. Joyce, Vice President.
Yvette Ware Duvall, Board Secretary.
Amani Johnson, Board Treasurer.
Charles Hicks, Board Trustee.
Michael Benison, Board Trustee.
Dr. Jennifer Green, Superintendent. Minutes being recorded this evening by Ms. Carolyn Foster, and our live streaming being provided by M1 Studios.
Trustee Hicks, would you please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Board matters. I'll yield to trustees. Trustee Hicks.
Yes. Well, first I want to say to the students, welcome back. I want to say that welcome back to the administrators, the teachers, support staff. I want to offer my apologies. I wasn't able to make it to opening day because I had to work, and there was a lot of going on at work. But I want to just say, with the utmost humility and sincerity, thank you for all that you've done and that you do. I had just taken my son, who's a recent graduate of the district, back to Tennessee State. He's in the band down there. So shout out to all the band folk that fed into my baby. But he's also, on the way down, he let me know that he was on the dean's list last semester, or his last semester. He didn't think it was a big deal, but I did. I also want to say thank you to all the teachers who are supporting my kids who are still in the district. And just one more last bragging moment. My oldest graduate of the district, he's a software developer. And we went out to dinner, and it was all of us. And if you all don't know, it's a lot of us in my house. And he just said, I'll take the check. Now, for me, I've never seen any of my kids take the check. So for me, that was like a proud moment. And I owe a lot of all these successes to not just my family, but to my SPS family, because you all helped instill and give a foundation to my kids, and now they're thriving. So I just want to say thank you for all that you've done and for all that you do. Okay, sorry.
Any other trustees? Board matters? Vice President?
Yes. Well, I just want to give kudos out to my number 6 child who graduated from Southfield High School. Had 6 sons that graduated. Number 6 child is at Michigan State, and she's on the dean list. And so I know that with 6 children, and they all were successful. She's the only one that left us in college. They all have graduated. They're engineers and software engineers and all that. Southfield has, with my children, have produced some children who have really have made my wife and I very happy. And so we truly believe in Southfield Public Schools. We know that they're producing some quality students. And so we're happy, you know. So now I'm in a situation now where what is that when your children are no longer at home?
Empty nester. Empty nester.
So it's a weird feeling to be an empty nester, you know. And I'm like, wow, this is weird, you know. To where my wife is saying, you got to find something to do, you know. Get out of my face and find something to do. And I'm like, okay. So, but just very proud of Hicks and his kids, you know, because I know them as well, and Destiny, my child, number 6 child, and so I just want you guys to know that we are very very happy and proud. I know it's a lot of folks out there that know my daughter and know her very well, and she's doing quite well. Matter of fact, her major is communications. Not communications, but
Journalism.
journalism. Thank you.
She's my baby, too.
That's right.
All of my babies from the district.
It's journalism, so you guys continue to keep her in your prayers. Thank you.
Board President, if I may, I might also would like to acknowledge the presence of our trustee, Smith Thomas, joining us for the record.
Good evening.
Good evening. One thing I would like to add and echo from some of my colleagues is we all sit here with a level of confidence, a level of security in ourselves. Some of us are graduates of the district, some of us that have children who are doing extremely well of the district. I look out among the audience and know how much you all love the district. We've got a lot of work to do, but I look forward to being able to roll up my sleeves and get down and dirty with a lot of you and making sure that we give our children our tomorrow the best that we've had in the incoming years. Thank you.
So my board matter is just one of gratitude. So I want to thank the leadership in Mrs. Shakar, Ms. Searles Powell, at a football game at Lawrence Tech University. You have fortitude and you have patience in a situation that wasn't the best. And I would like to thank you because I've heard from the community that they saw you. I would also like to say thank you to an incoming principal who also showed up at the game and made his presence known, Mr. Reese. I think that was a great show of collaboration. I would like to thank all the administrators in this room for starting out a great school year. This has not been an easy 3 years, but you are appreciated. For all of you who allow me to come into your schools and walk the halls and talk to the kids and ask questions, because I don't know half the stuff that you all do every day. I appreciate you. I would like to thank the Mac dads from MacArthur and Trustee Werdeval and her husband. They spent about 5 hours on Saturday installing screens in windows because we're tired of teachers and children being chased by bees. And that's just the honest to God truth. So they came in.
They constructed them.
They
and
came
installed.
in and they cut, glued, and then applied screens into, I don't know, over 60 windows. And it was hot in the building. They didn't ask us for a thing. It was paid for out of their household, and their time is invaluable. It's priceless. And so to Mr. Lake and his team that supported them, just a lot of appreciation. Also to those of you who have taken new positions in the district at a time where I know some things seem uncertain, thank you. That's dedication. I don't know any other word to call it. It's dedication. And I appreciate all of you. Some of you I went to middle school with, rode the bus with. And so I just would like to make sure that I did not forget to show gratitude as we begin the first meeting of the school year. I'd also like to say thank you to the trustees that are sitting up here with me for answering phone calls early in the morning, late at night, providing guidance, and just actually being a team. I think it's been constructive, productive, and I think it's the only way to build growth in this district is from the top down. I'd like to thank the administration because I don't think it would be fair to start this meeting without thanking them for all their hard work, late hours, phone calls, some nice, some not. And then lastly, to the parents that are in this room and our community, thank you for sticking in there with us. Your opinion matters. Your children are the product of what we do, and we appreciate you trusting us with them. And after that, I yield. I don't know if Trustee Benison or Trustee Smith-Thomas have a board matter.
I'll save mine for the good of the order.
Okay. Oh, I asked him already.
I'm okay.
Yeah, he kind of slid out. Sure.
Few meetings back, we had discussed moving public participation up on the agenda. And I asked if the board doesn't have any objection that we make that a standard going forward.
I have no objection.
None.
We had it before action items, I believe, or it was after board matters, before report of the superintendent. Is that how we placed it?
So I think what we did was we had it at the beginning after board matters.
Yep.
And then we had another one where it currently is, just in case something came up during the meeting that warranted a question.
I have no objection. Any discussion regarding moving public participation?
No.
I would like to ask that we reinstate that this evening.
Yeah.
Our last board matter is the MASB 2022 delegates. We may have no more than three. I know that Vice President, we were told three. I know that Vice President Joyce has requested to represent us as a delegate.
It's two and an alternate.
It's two and an alternate this year.
Yeah. Were you told something different? Or?
I've always understood it to be 4
As delegates?
Delegates, yeah.
As delegates, right,
for voting.
yeah. I mean,
We can identify.
Trustees, would anyone else like to represent Southfield Public Schools Board as a delegate?
I'm planning to be in attendance. I'll fill in as a delegate as well.
Okay.
Is there a motion to, we will need to vote on this, is there a motion to install Trustee Smith-Thomas and Trustee Joyce as our two delegates for the annual leadership conference?
so move.
Support.
It's been properly moved and supported. Trustee Wordavall, please call for the vote.
Trustee Bland?
Yes.
Trustee Hicks?
Yes.
Trustee Johnson?
Yes.
Trustee Joyce?
Yes.
Trustee Benison?
Yes.
Trustee Smith-Thomas?
Yes.
Myself, yes, unanimous.
Motion carried. Public participation. If you wish to address the board regarding a school-related issue that has not yet been resolved by school administration, please submit a comment card immediately. Comments are limited to 3 minutes per individual. As a matter of fairness, speakers with complaints against individuals are asked not to mention any persons by name. Complaints concerning employees pursuant to Board Policy 9130 should be brought to the attention of school principals or other administrators before coming to the Board of Education. Your cooperation is appreciated. Are there any other comment cards that I did not receive?
Yeah, I think it's a few comments.
Diana Pegler?
Pegler.
Pegler, I apologize.
At least yours too. We'll pass it, okay.
Good evening to the superintendent and to the board and to the listening audience and the audience present. My name is Diana. And I'm here this evening representing the National Conference of Black Women of Oakland County. And we have have an event that we've been doing since 2008, and that is a mock election with the youth of our community. Unfortunately, because of the pandemic, we weren't able to do it in 2020. But as we have seen over these last several years, we need our youth involved. We need to engage them civically. We need them to understand that they are our future. And if we don't start teaching them how this process works, it's questionable. And as we know, democracy is going to be on the ballot. We won't physically see it, but the things that are happening, we need to get our youth involved. The last time we did this was 2018, and what we did, we went as low as kindergarten. And what we did is had the middle school age students assist the kindergartners. And on our stationery, we gave the middle school students community service credit. So I am asking this body, please allow us to be involved in this year. Whatever we need to do, however we need to do it, just tell us and we'll be there and we will do it.
Good evening to the board, to the superintendent. I've been a resident of this school district for 36 years. 26 of those years, I had 6 children who started in all of the different schools, from preschool through university high. What I asked in the virtual meeting, I would like to ask again. Now that you're asking this community that we've just recovered from a pandemic, we've just started to come out from our lockdown, that you want us to approve a bond that may or may not be necessary. I don't know. I've been here for 36 years. I've seen a lot of bonds, a lot of millages, and a lot of mishandling of monies. What happened to the COVID relief money from the federal government? This money specifies its use for upgrading the HVAC systems and ventilation. How much did Southfield receive from the relief fund? Was that taken into consideration when you created the amount of the bond that you discussed and agreed upon as a board? I would really like to suggest that you be as transparent with the entire community, and that means the seniors, that means the homeowners who don't have children in this district right now, about what this bond concerns, where the COVID relief money is, because we, the homeowners, are going to be the ones who have been here and are going to be on the hook when you're all gone. I don't believe that this is a time for resume building. I think this is a time for building excellence in education. If this bond will do that, fine. But what I hear is tearing down of buildings, closing other buildings. I've already experienced Leonard. I've already experienced Southfield Lathrop when we had the okey doke and we weren't able to keep that school open. And I don't want that to happen again for this school district. Thank you for your time.
Good afternoon, Superintendent, the Board of Directors, parents, teachers, and administrators. My name is Crystal Dozier. I am the founder of Stream Kids, which provides student activities or student tours for various elementary, middle, and high schools. In March of 2022, we did take 165 students on our HBCU tour. A lot of students which came from Southfield A&T as well as University High. A lot of the students I employed over the summer at our company to work for us. In addition, we are launching our new tours for the upcoming year where we have a whole college readiness program where we have tracks to track with the students. We have scholarship presentations that we are connected with the NAACP in Washington, D.C. We're connected with all different organizations and partner with a lot of the HBCU colleges and universities where it provides our students here at the Southfield districts for them to be able to go to college in the summer on a scholarship from your Spelmans, from your Morehouse, or things of that nature. And a lot of our community reps from the colleges alone told me that they have scholarships for Metro Detroit, Southfield, and the students do not apply. And like I told her, it's because they don't know. So I'm here to bridge that gap. Once again, we did launch all 3 of our college tours. We were jam-packed. In March, we had to turn students away. Some students could not afford to go on the tours. Like I told parents, if I can eliminate the cost, I definitely would. But I am here to, I did give all the board members all of our flyers that we have out. I definitely need support. I did receive support from Novi School District, which they sent 3 students from their district as well as 2 chaperones. So we opened up all of our tours for teachers, administrators, board members to come chaperone our tours. We are definitely looking for funding because there's some parents that cannot afford to send their students on the tour. And it's one thing always to bring administrators or schools here to Southfield, but it's another thing to take our students on the road for them to actually walk the campus, see the administrators, meet with the financial aid reps, and not only that, see the dorm rooms and make a sound decision that once I graduate from the Southfield district, can I spend the next 4 years of my life here? So I did want to present that to you today, and hopefully you'll have more time to look into our program. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. I am here on behalf of homeowners, senior citizens, teachers, principals, students, who I've always have heard from for the last 3 months about this concern with what's happening in our school district. First of all, I know we want to pass a bond. My question is, how can you pass a bond when we can't handle the day-to-day finances of this district? I received several phone calls that you've overpaid staff for a year. Now, that's a problem for me. How can you handle the bond money if you can't handle the day-to-day finances of the district? Okay? Secondly, when I was a board member a year ago, I was censured for providing accurate information on busing. That program is on jeopardy for being canceled. It's a federal program. The federal government sent a team of people here to investigate our program because they have received so many complaints from parents and staff. The probation period is October. They will return again in October to see if we haven't made any improvements. And I just heard the other day that a 3-year-old student was left on the playground unattended. When the parents that came looking for it, nobody knew where she was. To me, that's the problem. You're not protecting our students. That's monumental to me. Our students must be protected at all times by all of our staff. Secondly, we know that we've had Uvalde shooting We've had the Oxford shooting. What program is in place to protect our students from an active shooter coming to our school? Last week, we had a student that came in with a Glock, loaded Glock, and he had edibles in his book bag. Where are the programs in place to protect our staff and our students? We have security. Where was the security to stop that child from coming to this building with a loaded gun? That's another problem. We need to get a handle on what's going on in this district. And I know we have 7 new board members, I can understand that. But you need to get out, talk to people like I talk to them. They call me and I listen to what they say. They trust me because I listen to what they say. I always have. And I speak the truth. I pay taxes in this school district. I have students. I have 2 grandkids. And I will have another attending Bussy. But she will not be a Bussy until it is 100% correct. So you guys need to find out what's going on in this district and fix the problems. And this is, the buck stopped at the top. Dr. Green is the top. And you guys need to know what's going on. I understand that you don't have financial reports monthly anymore. That's another problem. We've always had financial reports. Okay, some things you need to listen to. 3-minute limit is, I understand that. Okay, very good. I thank you so much.
Hello. How's everybody doing tonight? Good. That's good. Dr. Green, how you doing? That's good. Glad to hear it. So I'm speaking on the bond proposal and also maintenance in our schools. So we spoke, I was on the call earlier about the bond proposal, and I still feel that my questions weren't answered. So I asked the question about why we're doing a proposal all at once. It seemed like we have a lot of items. Glad y'all got this material, by the way. This is super helpful. Feel like it's kind of late though, but you know, that's another story. But so it's 5 items on here on this proposal, and we got one $345 million bond proposal. I was more so asking, why can't we break this up? So for item number 5, to expand community use of school facilities, it seems like that goes along with a lot of the other items on here, like item number 2, transition from the school model, and I would say pretty much that one. But right sizing the school district, one of the main things here is closing down a number of schools. Why can't that be a different bond? If we were trying to close down these schools and sell off that property, we can use that money as opposed to trying to further be a burden on us taxpaying citizens of Southfield here. You know, our taxes are high. I know we've been saying that a lot, but there are other ways to get this money than just to tax us. Another thing I would like to know is just the number of grants and how much you have reached out to the community for money, because I'm a realtor in the area, and I have received Warren School District. They've contacted me about donating to their school system. So it's like, that's a couple school systems away. It's like, why is Warren calling me, and I live in Southfield, and nobody from Southfield called me and asked me if I could donate to Southfield schools, right? So that's interesting that you say you've tried everything you can to get the money, yet I've had nobody contact me from Southfield Public Schools, but people from Warren Public Schools have contacted me. So that's one thing. Also, just $345 million is a lot of money. That's a lot of, I'm an engineer, I'm a real estate investor. I just can't imagine going to my boss, to an investor, saying, hey, can I have $345 million? This is what I'm gonna do. I can't tell you how I'm gonna do it, but trust me, it's gonna get done, okay? Like we need a plan. Like I need a timeline. I need phases. Like when are these phases going to be done? Who are the stakeholders involved? Who's going to manage the whole fund? So I'm just trying to get more information, and it seems like every time I keep asking for questions, I'm not getting the answers that I want. I would think that all this would be presented on the front end, right? I would think that all this would be on the website somewhere, be real easy to see, like, this is how all this is gonna get done. This is how long this is gonna take. This is how long this phase is gonna take. So that's pretty much that's what I would like. I think our students deserve all this, but I think my biggest concern is, because I don't know if we have the right people in place to carry this out.
Mr. Adams.
Well, President, if I may, there is a link on the district website regarding the bond proposal that does spell out the phases and has each school listed with those particular items. And I see out of my school, so someone shaking their head, no. I actually have some printed copies for those that are not able to navigate the website.
Who is this talking?
I just want to make sure that you have access to everything that I have. Thank you.
Courtney Adams.
Good evening. My name is Courtney Adams, and I wear many hats before you today. I'm a new Mac mom at MacArthur. Our son just started kindergarten yet this year. A community member, I've lived here for 36 years or so, and also a Southfield Public School alumna, a proud one at that. I'm passionate and dedicated to the continued growth and progress of this district. Unfortunately, after attending several of the town hall meetings, as well as reviewing the website with the capital bond information, and the board meeting minutes, recent financials, and the audits, I'm really finding it difficult to support this bond. I've reviewed the information, and one of my primary concerns is one of the most recent audit findings. From FY21, there were 4 audit findings, one that I believe is incredibly important and significant to the bond proposal. A material weakness was cited related to the management and oversight of bond and sinking funds. The independent auditors found that internal control processes that were in place heavily relied on the construction manager, that being Barton Mallow, regarding processes and controls that should have been performed by the school district, and that the delegation of those responsibilities diminished the oversight of use and recording of program funds. This is incredibly disturbing when we're looking at a $345 million proposal. That if we can't handle the capital projects that we currently have in place with appropriate internal controls and see evidence of that over time, then this isn't the right time. This isn't the right size bond. And what's being proposed just is not justified. It's a great grandiose plan. Would love to see it for the district, but we have to consider the other factors going on right now. I know that we've talked about the supply chain issues and what that all goes into the timeline, but it's honestly too expensive and poorly timed. There's an economic crisis going on. We understand there would be a huge burden on the community. So it just doesn't feel that it's appropriate at this time. And I don't see it as something that's needed now. It's not needed right now. In addition to the economic climate and the undue burden that it could create, it just doesn't feel appropriate that we could step back, find the right amount, the right time, and go forward in that manner. So I just wanted to share those comments tonight from a parent who is new to the district, but also old to the district, because I'm an alumna from this great district.
Drew Jackson.
Good evening, Mr. Parents and everybody that showed up on this side. Personally, I don't know too many of you folks. Honestly, I don't even know if I voted for y'all. My kid's been going here. I had a kid go through Bussy. Some of the places around here is okay for that. But I think looking at some of y'all faces, y'all ain't no more older than me. Not too much far younger than me. Y'all know the problems. We don't communicate right, honestly. And y'all, when you get voted, get in them positions, y'all don't do right by the money. It's been evident. I'm not from here, and it's seen the corruption that y'all did in this area throughout the state, and it's pitiful. It's sad. even with the minority numbers on this panel right here, and I appreciate you looking at me in my eyes right now when I'm talking, because I'm looking at y'all. I didn't sit here and watch y'all look down, work on your computers, do everything else before I got up here and talked. That's sad. That shows the level of respect you're going to do to the money just as well for us where I come from. Period. You want that kind of money? Get these streets and potholes done right just as well. Y'all need to go to a lot of other boards and work out on some stuff before you come to us looking for 345. And I don't plan on being around here that much longer. But as long as I'm around, you ain't going to get my vote. And that's how exactly you can end a lot of this stuff. Don't vote for it. You ain't got to come here and argue with them. Let them talk all the talk they want to talk, put whatever, label whatever. You know you don't want to spend that money, don't vote for it. Simple as that.
Thank you. Howard Whitney.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
I'm going to try and be very brief. I was on the call earlier today and expressed some concerns regarding the internal control system. And I want to talk a little bit about that. Internal controls are the processes that are put in place within the accounting system to make sure that fraud, waste, and abuse are captured by individuals in the normal course of their doing their work. That's not Howard's definition. That's the definition that was in the audit report. I reviewed a couple of the audit reports, and in the 2021 report, material weaknesses were cited. In the 2020 report, again, material weaknesses were cited. And I'm concerned because if expenses are not being properly recorded, disbursements with a B are not properly being accounted for and being put in the right account, that represents a significant problem. I have an accounting background. I previously spoke with one of the prior CEOs, or CFOs rather, regarding the use of internships to help overcome some of the shortcomings in terms of the skills and abilities of the accounting staff. I haven't seen anything like that take place. I'd like to offer that as a suggestion, though. The cost is minimal, provides great experience for your accounting students, and maybe, just maybe, these material weaknesses stop being material weaknesses. And it's really difficult to say, oh, that's not a big deal, when one of the weaknesses was that time cards weren't being properly maintained. So we're paying people who are not properly reporting their time, and they're getting a paycheck anyway? I sure hope you, the board, see that as a problem and start asking more questions regarding material weaknesses. I do thank you all for your time.
Thank you. Connie Williams.
Good evening, Dr. Green and board and the audience here. My name is Connie Williams. I'm a 45-year resident of the city of Southfield. A long time, had daughters graduated from Southfield as well. So Southfield means a lot to me and to my family, and I'm sure all of you. I appreciate the WebEx that I sat in earlier this afternoon, and I would ask that you consider question and answer, a summary of ongoing listing of the Q&As that are covered in the WebEx, so that an ongoing update of the listing as well, so that those that have not seen any or participated in the WebEx become aware of what those questions are. And that way, everything is covered and things don't have to be repeated at subsequent meetings and so forth. I would also ask that you consider, and I should say it at the WebEx as well, that a broader and a deeper discussion about what's planned in the bond issue. So I think that's something that you're going to be looking at. So I would encourage you to take a look at that. I quite frankly, really need a deeper understanding of what's planned in the bond in some of the areas. Some of it's easier than others, but that's one that's really concerning to me. So I would appreciate you doing that. And finally, so there's some other things I'm not going to get into that. I think you have a pretty hefty agenda, so I'll leave it at that. Well, those are some of the things that are concerning to me. And then the overall concern, the board, community participation in the board meetings. I know you're going to be moving. You moved it up to the upper part of the agenda. I would encourage you to keep a part of it near the end of the agenda as well, because things that may be discussed in the board meeting, community members want to weigh in on. And I'll leave it at that. I'll be continuing to come to board meetings because I'm really concerned about what's happening in our community, in our city. And I know it's a lot of work. I've been on that side, so I've been there before, I understand. But there's a lot of things that have been expressed tonight that are concerning, and we need to make sure we take a look at it. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Trustee Hicks? We have, I think, will you pass this to him?
So I'm not trying to address every point that was made, but I do believe that we will respond to everything that was lifted. Not all of the information was totally accurate, but I want to make sure that I let you know what I know. So I've been on the board, this is my 6th year. My term ends in December, and I'm not running for re-election. I'm a graduate of the district. I've had so far 3 sons who graduated from the district, and unfortunately many buildings look exactly the same, worse than they were when I was a student here. I'm not trying to convince anyone to vote one way or the other for the bond. All I know is that looking at the financials, when I first joined the board was not, the district was at a lower credit rating. We're now at an A credit rating because we didn't just get audit findings. More importantly, there were many corrective actions that were put in place and are still being put in place to address items that were happening that shouldn't happen. Do we have it all corrected? No. But me as a trustee, I did request a deeper dive on some of the findings and making sure that the corrective actions that were put in place are remediating the issues that were identified. An individual came and mentioned that they were censured for busing, but that's not true either, and our minutes support that. I'm not going to go into the detail as to that, but it's in our minutes. $345 million is a lot of money, but when we look at our neighboring districts, I believe some had over 500 million, some even close to $1 billion in, not a billion, well, actually it was close, no, Ann Arbor, and they didn't blink an eye. All I ask for you to do is, we need to tour some of our buildings to see why we're doing what we're doing. We did have millages and sinking funds, but when we look at a roof for a building being, well, several million, selling our properties that are offline would help and contribute, and we are focused on getting the best value for the properties and not just give property away. So we want to be fiscally responsible to make sure that we're not hitting you all or us, because I'm a taxpayer here as well. I just want to make sure that we're doing the right thing for the most important person, and that's our kids. And right now, you can't function when it's hot, when it's not supposed to be hot. You want to be able to have properly controlled buildings. And so when I look at the monies that we were getting from the millage and other items, that's only taking a fraction of the remediation that's required. So, and the thing is, the state regulates
how that money's spent. So being concerned about how and where the money's going to be appropriated, well, the state has to authorize how that money's being spent, and we have to be accountable to the state on where it goes. It's limited on how it can be used. It can't be used for payroll. It can't be used for a variety of things. And they check up on us and they audit us to make sure that it's being spent where it's supposed to be spent. So I understand that there's concern, but I want to make sure that you all have fact-based information. Please, if you have questions, charles.hicks@southfieldk12.org. Send me email. I will make sure that if I don't know the answer, I'm going to get you the right answer. Because I want you to feel comfortable. Drive around, look at our buildings, look at our parking lots, it needs a lot of work. When I ran and was elected to the board, we had $200 million in deferred maintenance. But those who've come on site and sat in the auditorium, whether it be at the old Southfield Lathrop or the Southfield High School, you see broken chairs, you see there was a leak coming in from the ceiling. Our kids deserve better. When we travel to different sporting events and our kids see the campuses, not schools, the campuses that they play against, I feel bad because our kids deserve that and more. So all I ask is that if you have questions, please reach out and I'll get you a fact-based answer, not an opinion, to address your concerns. Again, charles.hicks@southfieldk12.org. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Hicks. And just for clarity, many times if we are with our head down, I believe I can speak for the bulk of this board that we take notes on public participation, and we take that to heart. And the only way for us to deep dive in certain things is to record them. Normally, some of us do it on our laptop. I had to write on my agenda because mine wasn't plugged in. But that is not a sign of any type of disrespect. It's a sign that we're taking everything that you give us, we're writing it down, and we have to do the work and address it at a later date. Most of you send us your address on your public comment card or an email address. We have to respond to many of these things. So I just wanted to give that point of clarity. Report of the superintendent.
Thank you for the shared device. Technology is another issue of which we need to update. Out of respect for our guests this evening, we do have several guests. I would ask for your consideration to move some things around on the agenda. We have some new partnerships here, and I would like to defer the beginning of my presentation to that of our guests. We also have a school spotlight and we have a parent university update, so I would definitely ask that we consider that if that's the pleasure of the board. Is that okay? Okay, thank you. That being said, I'd like to first invite up to speak on our new partnership relative to the National Black MBA Association to the podium, and welcome them and address some of those accounting things that we just heard from our public participation. So very pleased to have you here this evening.
Thank you, Madam Superintendent. And as you mentioned, accounting things, Madam President, may I have a moment to defer to the citizens of Southfield about what's been discussed tonight?
Yes, please.
Very good. So I am Lauren A. Williams, the president of the Detroit chapter of the National Black MBA Association. We are a 50-year-old national organization, and for the last 46 years, we have been the only operating chapter in Southeast Michigan serving Black professionals. Please forgive the timbre in my voice. We just had a very emotional session, didn't we? In my professional role, outside of the National Black MBA Association, I am a registered, or I'm an investment advisor representative. I work for a registered investment advisor, which is Pruco Securities Prudential Financial. And I'm not here to sell you anything, but I'm here to provide just a couple of seconds of clarity on what a municipal bond is. A municipal bond is able to be purchased by citizens in the city. And if you purchase said municipal bond, the interest that you receive as payment for lending your city money is wholly tax deductible at the state and federal level. And that would be a direct dollar for dollar offset on your property taxes that you would pay. This is not something that is put as plainly to citizens when we are concerned about municipal bonds, but it is something that everybody in this room needs to take into account. And if you do not believe that people lend their government money, I need you to look at the United States of America. We won 2 world wars by lending our government money to save the world. So citizens do lend their governments money. That interest that's paid on that money comes to us tax-free. And we can offset the property taxes that we pay with the interest that we receive by lending our municipality or our country said dollars. Now, the partnership that I'm here to discuss is a 30-year-old youth development program called Leaders of Tomorrow. And I am here as a result of a long-standing professional networking relationship with Mr. James Jackson, who is the Southfield Public Schools Chief of Staff. And he and I have been politically active for the majority of our careers. We actually met working on a Southfield judicial campaign in 2007. But as the culmination of that partnership that we've had across multiple political campaigns and across multiple workspaces, we are now both in a position in our organizations to work together through this pandemic and on the backside of this pandemic to support youth. So the Leaders of Tomorrow program is a youth development program focused on team building, leadership, communications, critical thinking, and problem solving for students from the 9th grade to the 12th grade. It culminates in an annual case competition where we form a team from the class of Leaders of Tomorrow that is selected by our very open application process. We form a team to go to a national case competition. Over $3 million in scholarships have been given to Black students who participate in this case competition in the last 3 decades. The first class of Leaders of Tomorrow are in their 40s. And 2 people that were in the case competition in 1991-92 class of Leaders of Tomorrow sit in the C-suite in publicly traded companies. Leaders of Tomorrow is now a multi-generation leadership program focused on youth development. I am not a parent. I am an aunt. I am an executive. And so my role, and I'm not an educator, but my role in relation to the National Black MBA Association and to Leaders of Tomorrow is to support this program and pull us, our chapter out, and pull our youth out of what has happened during this pandemic and how our youth have moved backwards and they've introverted and they've lost communication skills and they've lost years of development by not being with their peers. I reached out to my colleague, James Jackson, to forge a partnership with Southfield Public Schools to incubate this program here in this school district because Detroit has raised champions. We have won this case competition 8 times out of 30. And so we need to build another team of champions for the Black students in Southeast Michigan. This is not a Detroit Public Schools program. This is not a Southfield Public Schools program. The National Black MBA Association is a 42-chapter national professional association that is a registered nonprofit. And the Detroit chapter is incorporated here in Michigan. So I thank you all for your time. I welcome any questions that anyone might have about our program. But I am so happy to be partnered here and incubate this program to help develop youth throughout the region here with Southfield Public Schools.
Trustee Smith-Thomas?
President, I have a question.
Oh. By the way, we learned that all our wired mics are dead, so we'll have to.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing. It sounds like a wonderful program. My question is for the superintendent through the chair. Are we looking to provide an action item, that this be a partnership? Is this something the superintendent is bringing as already committed to for programming for our students in some of our buildings? Can you elaborate on what the plan is? Thank you.
I am pleased to share that this partnership has been a long time in the making, and that this is something that we are committed to offering to our secondary students throughout the entire district.
Through the chair. Dr. Green, could you elaborate if there's a cost to the district? Zero cost to the district.
I am the fundraiser for the Leaders of Tomorrow program. That's why I'm not an educator. Yes, sir?
I heard you say that the open application process, so what does that look like for some of the parents in the audience, just so we understand what that cadence looks like to get involved?
So the application has a link. It is a Google Doc, and I did provide it to the office of Mr. Jackson about a month ago. And when I say open application process, it requires the student to be in the 9th grade. That is the only filter, is that the student must be in the 9th grade. Everything else that is collected is parental information and contact information for the selection process.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Trustees, any other questions? Thank you very much.
Thank you, Madam President. Thank you, Madam Superintendent.
I would ask, I know we have a lot of people in the audience at this moment, if there are sidebar conversations, if you could step in the hall to conduct them, because we can hear it up here, and I would just ask, as we have people at the podium, that we respect their time. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam President. At this time, I would ask that we skip down to our school spotlight with Dean Orlando Bogans, and then circle back to our parent university.
And just for the record, Dean Bogans has also brought his assistant principal, Kelly Patterson, with him to introduce her to the board and the community as well. Dean Bogans, Assistant Dean, welcome.
To Dr. Green, to the board members, to the community members, thank you all for this opportunity. My name is Orlando Bogans, and I'm the proud principal at University Middle and High School. Mrs. Patterson, the assistant principal, will come and give some brief words, but I would like to say that I am just so excited to be at this school. One thing that has really triggered me to be there and want to do bigger and better is to know that the school was ranked number 9 at one time and now number 11. And so I have committed to the staff, to the stakeholders, to all of the community members for university to let them know that we are going to relate, we're going to rebuild, and we're going to refocus so that after this pandemic we can come back strong and return to the 1 to 10 ranking for our school. And so how do we do that? We're going to invest into the curriculum. We're going to invest into our students, to our parents, making sure that the staff are feeling value and important as they come to work each and every day. I tell everybody that no matter what I'm doing, no matter where I am a teacher first. And so I can be that teacher in the classroom. And so as I stand before you all, I'm bringing to you all 27 and a half years of education experience. And I just want to make sure that I do my best and model each and every day what I can so that we can all continue to grow. I do want to stop and say that being there now, I've not done it by myself. I would like to thank Dean Williams, who retired back in December, and Mr. Patton, who has been instrumental, as well as our staff members, to ensure the transition would just really be easy for me, and for that I'm grateful. To my staff members that are listening, being a part of all of this, I do believe that they are the soldiers in this thankless career that really make a difference no matter what. And each and every day, I try to build those relationships. As I get ready to close and bring Mrs. Patterson forward, I will share with you all one thing that I did yesterday at a staff meeting I was sharing with Principal Dean there. I told the teachers at the closing of the staff meeting that I did a lot of research to understand what the perfect educator would look like. And I tried my very best to think of all of these adjectives and try to understand how and what they should really embed in each and everyday lives as they are developing and depositing lessons to our students. And so I dismissed all of the staff row by row, and they had to go and look into this box to see what this perfect educator looked like. And when they looked into the box, they saw a mirror. So they saw a picture of themselves. And when they left out, there were tears, there were emotions, and they felt the love, they felt the support, and they felt that it was very genuine. So I believe in that, and as I continue to do that, and do that with anyone connected to university, I think we'll be successful. So the support that I ask of anyone, parents, stakeholders, starting in October, the third Tuesday at 6:30, the PTA will be meeting. I will be present, and we can continue to work together, collaborate, and make sure we have triangular data together to make sure, again, university grows. Mrs. Patterson.
Thank you. Good evening, Dr. Green and the board and all the parents and community members here tonight. I am Kelly Patterson, the new Assistant Dean at University. This is my second day on the job, so I'm just getting to know the building and the staff. I can say that yesterday when I met the staff at the meeting and walking around the building today, going into the classrooms, the lunchroom, and basically every room in the school, I did get lost, but the commitment from everyone in that school is so admirable, and I am really looking forward to working with them and seeing the district as a whole, because we are one school, but we represent the entire district. And I feel confident in that we can continue to grow. I have 29 years experience in education, and I am committed to the entire district. Thank you.
Thank you. Trustees?
Oh, Mrs. Patterson, come back. Come back.
Trustee Hicks?
Well, I want to personally welcome you both to Southfield Public Schools. I'm looking forward to you getting us to number 5 this year. So, yeah, no pressure. But seriously, one of the things, and I know my peers are probably tired of me because one of your fellow principals in the district, I asked for, well, what's the 90 days look like? I'm not an educator, but I am a leader for a large organization. And when I hired my recent director that works for me, I asked him, well, what's his 90-day strategic plan for the area that he oversees? I asked the same thing of you all at some point, not to micromanage what you do, but just so that I can understand from a board perspective what kind of supports we need to support making your vision reality. And so similar to our brother over at Southfield A&T, I want to make sure that we're doing the same thing because you all are both, well, you all are new to Southfield. So you don't understand the culture yet and the expectation that's, you know, from a board perspective. But I want to make sure and ensure that we are working collaboratively. So I do want to have, at some point, to Dr. Green's, you know, alignment, intervals where we understand where you are, where you're not, what you need to make sure that the building thrives and not just survive. And welcome.
Thank you.
I don't have a question. I just would like to say welcome again. And I've been to your school. I sat with you. I've watched you interact with the staff. Surprised. I know you weren't expecting to see me in your school, but you welcomed me with open arms, so I appreciate you both. Thanks for coming to Southfield Public Schools. Trustees, if you don't have Any other questions? Any more discussion? You're all set. Thank you for your presentation.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I would like to let the community and the district know that for those of you who tune in to board meetings, the trustees had lifted that they wanted to bring this back. They wanted to start hearing from the school. They want to start getting data straight from the building administrators' mouths so the community can hear what the schools are doing, what constraints they have, what supports they need. We want to hear about your extracurricular activities. We want to hear how your parents are doing, how the traffic is doing. So this will be pretty much a monthly thing, showcasing a different school. There will be data reports from schools at our study session, and the school spotlight will be at our regular board meetings. So I just wanted to make everyone aware that this will happen. I see a lot of our administrators out there, so expect an email for your school spotlight. And again, welcome Dean Bogans and Assistant Dean Patterson.
Thank you, Board President, and again, welcome to Southfield Public Schools. Whatever supports are needed, you will find that the 8 members here are extremely supportive, and I think Trustee Smith-Thomas had a question.
Board President, I have a question regarding the statement you just made with the data reports. Has that template been developed already, or are you still seeking input?
So we're still seeking input. I'm going to yield, just in case we have, you guys can keep it down here. I am going to yield this out, just in case, can everybody in the back hear me?
Board President.
Yes, sir.
It's not just them, it's them.
The audience is picking me up either? Okay. I'll pass it back. So the template has not been created. Based on what we saw today, somewhat of a rubric will be created for the school spotlight. So the template for the data will be created with input from the board. I believe that we are looking at potentially next month's study session to begin this whole data thing, giving everyone 6 weeks amount of time to get this together. So that is the expectation moving forward.
Thank you, Board President. At this time, I'd ask Ms. Foster to pull up the PowerPoint presentation for Parent University, and I would ask that Mr. Jackson join us at the podium.
Here we go. Good evening, Dr. Green, members of the Board of Education, and the community. We have been working on, we've been in the development stage for the last several months on building a program that we can use to engage our parents more, so that we can also help make sure that they are equipped with the knowledge of how things happen in a school district and ways that, so that they have a better understanding of the operations and also the platforms we use to educate our students and their students. So we came up with Parent University. Now Parent University is not a new concept. Parent University, there are districts across the country that have very similar programs to Parent University. But basically, Parent University, it's a parent engagement program. It's designed to promote successful partnerships among parents, schools, and communities. The program provides free activities, courses, and workshops for parents to enhance their personal well-being as well as their scholars' success. The courses that are going to be offered this year, this is a list of the courses that will be offered this year, and these are all listed on the website as well, on our district website, but just some of them are, understanding the district testing and assessment tools. So you can understand what your children, the testing that your children are taking, and understanding how those tools are used to assess their progress as they move through school. Understanding STEM and STEAM. These are terms that educators use often, but many parents may not truly understand what those programs truly entail. A parent's role in school safety. I think as we talk about the safety measures that go into schools and all the concerns that parents have about student safety with the stories that we hear from across the country and even locally, there are things that we as a community have to do to try to address these things. It's not just a school function to address these things. It's a team effort, and that requires a strong partnership. Understanding educational pathways. That is something that that many of you have heard a lot of recently as it relates to the capital bond, but understanding what that means, and understanding what your student would experience, and what benefit there possibly could be from that. But these are just want to highlight a few of them, but there's that complete list is again on our district website. So one of these.
Jackson, I'm sorry. Before you go on to the other course offerings, I think it's very important that we let parents know if there's something they're interested in seeing, that we are still taking suggestions for offerings, and then we will, if it is something that a significant number of our families are interested in, we will add that to our course offerings as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So if there are topics that you feel aren't covered in the initial list, then please raise them. Please lift them to my office so that we can look into how we can develop a course that provides that type of information. These courses are, at this point, ideally we'd like to get to a point where these courses are in person, but at this point, the initial courses will be 60 to 90-minute virtual courses offered twice monthly on Wednesday evenings. The first course will be offered on October 5th at 6 p.m. They are facilitated by district staff as well as some of our external partners. Some of these topics are topics that our staff can speak to, but some of them require bringing in experts from outside of our district that work full-time on these particular topics, and we want to make sure that we're bringing the best resource to our parents to give them the best information possible. And then we'll also be recording them. So the sessions will be recorded after the initial class runs, then that session will be recorded and then put onto our district website as well as our YouTube page so that if you miss that session but you want to go back through it and run through it, you'll have access to it. Now, who's eligible to enroll in this? So enrollment in Parent University is open to all of our Southfield Public Schools parents and guardians. If you have a student in our district, then you are eligible to enroll in Parent University. Parent University is also available to our residents, both in Southfield and Lathrop Village. Because it is important that even though you may not have a child or a grandchild, niece or nephew in the district, but it's important that you know, because you as a part of this community are connected to the school district. And so some of these topics may be of particular interest to you, either personally or even professionally. For participants that complete 80% of the classes offered during the school year, you'll be eligible to receive a graduation certificate. And we will have a special ceremony just for parents at the end of the school year before we end the school year. How do you enroll in the program? As I mentioned, on our website, there is if you go to our website and go under community, you'll see a link for Parent University. And it will list all of the courses that we have developed up to this point, as well as we'll have a link that will go live on Monday that will provide you with the opportunity to enroll in this particular program. And as I mentioned, if you complete 80% of the courses, then you will receive a certificate. So, you know, it's not just the certificate. I mean, it's the knowledge that comes with that. And I think that we are all better when we have we're all more effective when we have a better understanding of the system that we are a part of. And so this is just a way to commemorate your achievement, your diligence, and your commitment to learning as much as you can about the district that is a part of your community. And with that, I will yield it back to the board.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Jackson. This is wonderful. I'm really excited about this. A couple things I want to highlight for consideration. The support services for special needs scholars, very excited to see that. I do want to put an emphasis on specifically the IFSP process and the bridging to IEP as an area of support for families to understand. And what that is, community, is IFSP is the early intervention for birth to age 3. And at the age of 3, the child can then bridge to an IEP, which would continue their services as needed. And so I've found, having walked that journey, that is an area of support that is needed within our community. I know I personally was devastated myself, and I've been an educator. I have over 15 years starting in early childhood and was not prepared for a child with special needs. And so to have to journey that and walk that process, I am grateful for a number of people in this district who have assisted me to this point, as we recently did just complete her bridging to IEP. But it was, again, a process because you don't have a baby and then expect that you're going to deal with all of the challenges related to that child, that baby needing special services, and then you want to advocate for them. And she's having a wonderful time in your building, Mr. Hill. And then also the school readiness as an area, specifically, again, focused around early childhood. I recently returned to kindergarten. And something that was really alarming to me, and I'm sure other kindergarten teachers can relate to this, over the past week I've continuously heard, yes, my child had 2 months of schooling. These are parents, my parents, in my other role as an educator, who I've had to call in and say, hey, let's have a conversation about school readiness for your child. Not to discourage them, but I think something that we don't understand and a lot of parents don't know, kindergarten is not mandated in the state of Michigan. And so sometimes students, and because we have just experienced the pandemic, we have a lot of children, a lot of young children who have missed a lot of building blocks. And so we're having a lot of tough conversations. I hold myself personally accountable for it on day one. And I tell the parents, I'm not saying this to discourage you, but I want to start talking early because we're partners in education. And it's our responsibility to educate families in that way. So school readiness, just because your child may be 4 by the or maybe 5 by the deadline, or even 5 going into the school year, doesn't mean that child is necessarily ready for kindergarten. And I think we have the responsibility as a school district to have those tough conversations with families, but not only to have the conversation, but to be a helping hand and lend them those supports to make sure that when the time is right, they are bridging, because kindergarten is not the same as it was years ago, where you get a little, nap bag and snack and you play with, Legos. It's very different, and then it becomes even more serious and even more challenging once the child goes on to first, second, third, and then, of course, we know we in the state have that interesting law, I'll say, read by grade 3. And so we just want to make sure our children, our scholars, very early on are set up for success. And I think it begins by having those early conversations. So again, I'm excited to see this. That was just the only insight I wanted to add as it related to the courses that are being offered and the different facilitators that you're looking into having to come in and talk with families and educate. Thank you.
Thank you.
Through the chair. Yeah. Mr. Jackson, Dr. Green, I think this program is going to serve Southfield and the Village very well, but I do have a question regarding the branding or the advertisement of this program. What does, the participation is only as good as the program is, and so do we have flyers going up in the main offices? Do we have a texting program? Like, how are we going to communicate this beyond just a virtual option for our community to enroll?
Well, I think that, as we prepare to roll this program out, we are going to use every platform available to us to get the word out, because our internal communications mostly goes to our parents. But this program is not just for parents, it's for the broader community as well. And so we have to use every platform available to us. We have to make sure that we are sharing it with the groups that make up our community, sharing it with our block clubs, going to city council and talking about it through the city council, and making sure that everybody knows that these opportunities are here. Because you're right, it doesn't matter if nobody participates. And so the goal for this is to get as many people, make as many people aware so that as many people can enroll as possible, so that, not that we just give out a bunch of certificates at the end of the year, but that we've given out some valuable information to a broad cross-section of the Southfield and Lathrop Village community.
Through the chair. Mr. Jackson, as we're rolling this out to the public, are there student services available while the parents are learning some new curriculum and working with their students? Are there student services available for watching the kids while that's all going on?
Well, at this point, it will be virtual. So there aren't necessarily supports at the onset of this. As we move into a more in-person delivery of these courses, then that's something that I'm absolutely open to any suggestions from the board on how we'd like to support our enrollees.
Trustees, any other discussion? Hearing none. Thank you, Mr. Trustees.
Board President, I actually would like to the point that was made about getting the word out, I would like to introduce a motion, if you are willing to accept a motion at this time. Okay, I would like to move that we advertise the parent university in the Southfield Sun, as well as the Lathrop Community newspaper. Forgive me for not knowing the name.
Support.
It's been properly moved and supported. Board Secretary, please call for the vote.
Oh my gosh, how are we going to do this? Trustee Joyce?
Yes.
Trustee Johnson?
Yes.
Trustee Hicks?
Yes.
Trustee Smith Thomas?
Yes.
Trustee
Teacher voice.
Yes.
Trustee Glenn? Yes. Myself, yes, unanimous.
Motion carried. Thank you, Mr. Jackson.
Thank you, Board President. And in the interest of Trustee Bennison's question, this would be a great time to ask Ms. Alexander Cash to stand, who is our new Director of Communications for the Southfield Public School District, having been approved a few board meetings prior. She will be taking care of many of those requests that were lifted this evening, including the Southfield Sun. And she does have on pink and green, but there is no affiliation with any organization. So let me just put that out there before the rumors begin to fly. I did compliment her on that earlier today.
Welcome, Ms. Cash. Also, because this is rolling out October 5th, I would like to ensure that we have a timeline for getting that in the Southfield Sun. I believe the Southfield Sun only, right. So I just wanted, as we're sitting here, for the community and the board to be aware that we have a window of time. So I'm asking that Mr. Jackson, Ms. Cash, if you can move on that swiftly, so that we can be notified when that is done. Thank you.
Indeed. And in the interest of time and sharing the microphone, I will move swiftly through some of the other subjects, but I won't go too swift because the one that I want to discuss next is extremely important and near and dear to all of our hearts, and that is school safety. I know that the second week of school, none of us expected to be met with a student that had some challenges, yet we were, and we had to address it. I do, not to respond to an earlier comment, but I would like to acknowledge our security team and our SROs who worked in collaboration with the Southfield Police Department to ensure that that young person did not enter any classroom in our school and was swiftly taken into custody without incident to ensure that all of our students were safe, and that is due to the protocols that have been put in place. I also think it's worth Oh, yes, we have administrators here from the building that were definitely instrumental in that process. Mr. Earls Powell and Mr. Sakar, who you lifted earlier. Mr. Reese did show up on the scene, although he was not officially an employee of the district, but he still showed up to make sure that he provided his support later in the day as well. It's also worth noting that when this administration arrived in Southfield Public Schools, the district had one school resource officer, one, for a district that has 19 buildings and has 5,000 students. Since that time, through the support of the Board of Education, we moved from one school resource officer to 3. This year, we are most fortunate to share with the community that we now have been approved to have 4 school resource officers in partnership with the Southfield Police Department. So thank you to the trustees for keeping school safety at the top of your agenda. We have also done some other things in the past 4 years. I saw an article today where a neighboring, very affluent school district was proud to show off their fobs. We've had fobs. We even went to badges with encryptions to allow our staff to come in and out of the buildings to keep our buildings locked throughout the school day when our scholars are in class. We have alarms on the doors at the high school to afford us to be alerted if a student is trying to exit the building. That's a large facility with over 300,000 square feet. It was designed to educate 3,000 students, and we have less than 1,500 in their present day. It is very difficult to monitor the whereabouts of each and every child in such a large facility, but we have put some additional pieces in place to ensure that we are doing just that. Furthermore, there is some misinformation in the community relative to metal detectors. We are not saying we are pro or against. What we are saying is we don't want to create a false sense of security. Metal detectors are only as good as the device and the people that are monitoring them. If someone really wants to get something into a facility, they can. There are windows, there are additional doors, there are cars, and most incidents happen outside of the campus, not in the building. So I don't want anyone to have a false sense of security relative to metal detectors, nor do I wish for them to have the misinformation that we are for or against. Furthermore, relative to that of communication, it is important, and I didn't realize, I've been in the business for 3 decades, and I didn't realize how many people didn't know the difference between the various lockdowns. When we send information, the way in which a parent can know what's happening is based on the terminology used. If it is a soft lockdown, that means that something is happening in the community and we have to lock the exteriors of our buildings to prevent that community element from coming in. It could be a bank robbery. It could be any amount of things happening. If the parent sees an email stating that the building is on lockdown and it is a soft lockdown and they attempt to come to the school, we are not able to let you in. It is difficult for us to stand on the other side of the door and not be able to discuss our reasoning behind it. But know that if we are on a soft lockdown, there is something happening in the community, and through communication with the chief of police, not the SROs, not the sergeants, not the lieutenants, the chief of police, we will go into soft lockdown. If we are on a hard lockdown and you receive an email, that means something is happening in the school and the students are to stay in their classrooms. This does not always mean there is a violent situation occurring. It could very well be a medical emergency, which requires us to keep all of the students in their classrooms without passing to the next class in order to tend to the medical emergency. And we would have a medical personnel on site. That is a hard lockdown. And then we have what has become, unfortunately, all too common, the active shooters. If there was ever a situation, we would not be on a lockdown. We would be leaving the campus. So if you ever receive an email from the school district or any school district, not just Southfield, those are 3 ways in which you would know what is happening in the school without the personnel going into great detail. Because when we're in the midst of the emergency, while we know you want to know, and while we know that social media gives misinformation, and we know that students text, we are dealing with the emergency at that time. And as soon as humanly possible, we will provide a more detailed explanation relative to what occurred on that given day. So I just wanted to provide that information for all.
So, and yes, Vice President, I heard the false sense of security, and I want to be real clear about that. So for me, it's about whatever is going to help make us safe. I don't care what the metal detector look like. Makes me no difference. If it does a job and it's necessary, because most of you know, I came through Southfield Public Schools, Shanos, Thompson. I'm a Lathrop Charger all day. My son, I heard that. My son came through McIntyre, Bernie. Mr. Hill was his principal. He went to UHSA. My daughter is at Stevenson right now. If there is a chance that a metal detector will help catch something, please understand, a metal detector I am for. I'm not going to hold y'all up. I don't think there's any way in this day and time that we can ignore what's going on. You know, if this was 1998, maybe my mom would be saying something different in Lathrop Village. It's not. And I always tell people over-communicate. I would rather overprotect myself and my kids than not. So while I know a metal detector is not an end-all to be-all, if it's an extra layer, I'm for it. So I just wanted to address that. I know I've had some of these conversations with some trustees, but I felt it was very important for the community to hear me say it. I'm sure this is going to come to our table, approve something, and I just want to be clear on this day that that's something that I'm not going to be able to say, oh, it doesn't look nice, oh, it doesn't belong in Southfield or Lathrop Village. That's not for me. If it's going to keep my kids safe, your kids safe, I'm for it. So I just wanted to put that out there as we have that discussion.
Questions. There's one more component that I think is extremely important for us to lift at the table, because we on this side are educators, and I am not a security personnel, and I don't believe in any of your backgrounds there are either. So I say that to say that in June of 2022, the governor did pass House Bill, or sign off on House Bill 6012, which afforded school districts $2,000 per building to contract with security experts to come and assess school buildings to provide any weaknesses that we may have, or what I reference as exposure. We had already contracted with one of these state-approved vendors to do so, and I'm pleased to announce that on today, not only the company came out to start that process, but the CEO of the company actually came and personally walked Southfield High School for the Arts and Technology and stated that they would expedite our report so that you can not only see what is currently in place, but that you can see their recommendations, because this is their area of expertise. And we had already moved on this to occur prior to what happened in our building last week. So we are continuously looking to improve upon the safety and security, not only for our students, but for our staff as well. When their families send them to work each day, they expect them to come home safely. And it is our commitment to make sure that that happens. So thank you for that, Board President. I'm not sure if there were any more questions regarding that.
This question is for Dr. Green. In our schools, do we have cameras that are operating correctly in the hallways and in the stairwells?
Yeah. Did you want the?
So at all due respect, Vice President Joyce, when we define our emergency operating procedures, there's a reason why what we're doing to fortify the buildings isn't really disclosed, because you don't want folk who may be attempting to do harm to know the things that we put in place to try to prevent that. So divulging where and what we have within the building kind of compromises some of that. You did, you said the hallways. Okay, I stand corrected. But I'm just asking that we just be cautious on what we say we have or don't have in our buildings.
Well, the reason why I asked that question is because we have quite a number of parents, some of the schools that are asking that question. So that's the reason why I asked you that question, not to get in detail, but just to give a simple answer, yes or no, or whatever, you know.
So I'm hopeful that my response will address both concerns. We do have surveillance devices throughout the district, and I think we are one of the few districts that have our surveillance devices monitored by the Southfield Police Department. So they can watch our schools in real time. The police department, not the SROs that are on campus, but the actual police department housed in City Hall can monitor our schools in real time. So that is one of the agreements that we have. Now, going back to the earlier presentation, a big portion of the bond is that of security. So part of this assessment that is being done is so that we can help to become a safer place for all of our scholars to learn. That is not the bond in totality, but that is one of the appropriate usage of the bond, not for personnel, but for equipment.
So let me say this, as a board member. That does me well, because that means we're being transparent. We're sharing that with the community, we're sharing that with everybody out there, so that they have some kind of idea of what's going on. It's just being transparent, it's just transparency. You know, not giving away where we got in this corner, that corner, or giving away anything at all. It's just people want to know, and we need to communicate and let them know that. That's the reason why I asked.
And there will be an article, because we are one of the first school districts, if not the first, to utilize the grant dollars having been afforded by the state. The Detroit newspaper did come out today and shadow the CEO of the security company, and there will be a feature in the Detroit News relative to the process that Southfield Public Schools is taking to ensure that their scholars are safe. So once we know the published date of that article, we will ensure that all trustees are able to get a copy of that interview. Moving along, and I'm bouncing around the items because they're now out of order. The capital improvement proposal, we've touched upon it, we've heard from our community. I wanted to share with the board that in your packet, at the behest of the trustees and the community, there is a timeline from 2018 to 2022 outlining what we've done with the dollars thus far that our community has afforded us, and then what the plan is at the very end. So each of you have that. It was shared for the first time at today's town hall on the screen, WebEx, and we will make sure that this is uploaded to our district webpage as well, but I did want to highlight that for everyone. And if anyone needed a copy, this is the document I was going to send to the Whitney, so you can get a copy before you leave this evening. And I do thank them for coming because they were truly on the WebEx 5 minutes before the board meeting and then transitioned to be here, so I greatly appreciate seeing you. So that's all I'll lift about that. We are going to continue with our Town Hall Tuesdays on the second and fourth Tuesday of every month. All of those dates have been added to the district website, the district calendar, as well as the district app. And Ms. Cash is going to ensure that social media posts go out relative to that as well. In the interest of time and the sharing of the microphone, the legislative update, the one that is most important to the school district right now, is that of the recent House bill to ensure that individuals having retired from school districts that are out for 90 days can come back and receive a full salary once they are retired. In the past, you may recall that it was down to a third and it was 30 days, and unfortunately, it wasn't for every category. It was an exception to every rule, and we had to go and find the rule for every person that wanted to come back. As of now, anyone having been out for 90 days can come back and earn a full salary as well as be in retirement. So with the staffing shortage, we strongly encourage retired educators to come back and help where possible. I don't know if you saw Dr. Gunn's face when I said that. She has already volunteered to be my thought partner, so I take her up on that offer. So thank you, Dr. Gunn. And then relative to staffing, we know that we still have some staffing challenges. We've transitioned from the previous company to that of Kelly Services. As of today, I learned that we have 100 staff members in the queue to be added to the classrooms. I know our administrators will greatly appreciate that, but it's a revolving door. We're taking teachers from other districts are taking teachers from us. It's very competitive. I'm pleased to announce that we have one of our staff members returning back to Southfield Public Schools, that being Cherry Dougherty. So people are starting to come back to Southfield Public Schools, and we welcome others to come back. I hope everyone on YouTube hears that, because we are trying to remain competitive. The area of concern that's heightened right now for me is that of paraprofessionals. We are very competitive in that area for paraprofessionals. The problem is McDonald's and Target are paying $25 an hour. So it makes it hard to compete when you have other industries that have the increased dollar amount. So that is one area that we're looking to bolster to ensure that we can keep highly qualified candidates.
Someone loves somebody, that's nice.
Maybe the police department was watching it.
So my question is around staffing, specifically classroom staffing, as it relates to investing in potential educators for alternative route certification programs and different things like that, with the state being more of an advocate actually in support of that. What is the district's position and how are we identifying? So say we get this 100 plus folks who go into the classroom, we find there's a couple of people who, you know, maybe started the journey and maybe they didn't finish. They're really doing well. How are we going to make sure we capture those folks and go to the state and say we want to keep them in our district and we want them to have some type of interim certification while we train them?
Absolutely. Oh, and there was a new bill introduced most recently to bolster exactly what you're referencing. So they're continuing to build on that model. We are in conversation with Davenport who has an alternative route, and some other institutions that have alternative routes. And I'm pleased to say that we currently have some paraprofessionals that are going through that process as we speak. So we will continue to offer those options to individuals that identify themselves, with the caveat, and this came from one of our administrators, that we would even look to possibly help fund that if indeed they committed to stay with Southfield Public Schools for so many years after they received their certification.
That was the question I wanted to ask. So, and I know we've had this conversation before, and we did hear a presentation from Davenport. However, through the chair, I would love if we could really look at having a comprehensive, I know we don't have the manpower here within the district to have our own, but if we do have a partnership such as Davenport, and we do have resources, and we have grant dollars from the state and advocacy from the state, putting in place a strong program, a actual system where it looks like, okay, you were identified on this day, you signed this paperwork, you commit to being with the district, we go as a district to the state, get that person interim certification, and lay out what that looks like over the course of the 3 years. I believe they can have an interim certification before having a full certification. Has that developed? And if not, through the chair, can we look to ensuring that that becomes an agenda item?
That definitely can become an agenda item. We will have to coordinate, of course, with Dr. Green, and we will add that to our board action report. It will be, we will put it under your ownership, and we will follow it through, and then Dr. Green would be responsible for the deliverable as well.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Actually, Board President, that wraps up everything that I wish to discuss this evening. I will provide the trustees with some additional information in support of all of the reports that I shared this evening, especially that of the safety and security report.
Action items, Report 6109, Personnel Action Report.
Trustees, at this time, I would like to ask Mr. David Reese to join us at the podium. Mr. David Reese is on your personnel action report this evening, and I'd like to introduce him to the community and to the trustees. He's joined by his wife, Mrs. Reese, this evening, so if she stands up, because it's truly a household responsibility to support that of the senior high school principal. Mr. Reese is coming to us from Farmington Public Schools, whereby he was asked to lead a smaller school and remove himself from the comprehensive high school because of his ability to forge relational trust and to deal with subgroup populations of students, as well as to forge relational trust with the staff and students in the comprehensive high school upon the closure of their third high school in that district, which was Harrison High School. He was instrumental in bridging that relationship between the students when they came to Farmington High School. His superintendent spoke highly of him, and his superintendent is an alum of our district, so I asked if he would put him in charge of leading his high school, and he said we had a consummate professional and that we were fortunate to have him join our team. So, Mr. Reese, trustees, Mr. David Reese.
Welcome, Mr. Reese.
Thank you. Should
I don't know what
Rob, does that mic work?
Here we go.
Okay.
All right. Good evening, everyone. My name is David Reese, as she just mentioned, and I want to just say, first and foremost, that Southfield is home. I started my whole career off here. I was a student teacher in B House, head football coach. I also taught at Southfield Lathrop and Southfield High when I ended my career and transitioned. And I want to say that the reason why I'm standing here before you is because it's kind of crazy, because I was the baby in the school. I started at 23 years old when I started in the district. And I had so many people that laid their hands on me and mentored me through my process. And I want to mention just a few, like people like Mr. Earl Dixon, Dr. Jones, Dr. Stone, Mr. Horn, all of these individuals, and then so many staff members, Ms. Perryman and things like that, who always saw greatness in me and helped me and encouraged me. So when I hear Mr. Hicks talk and I hear Mr. Bland, Miss Bland, but Vice President Joyce, when I hear them talk about their children, that's my why for coming back home, okay? So I sit here and I remember, and that's kind of funny because I went home and I remember having Mrs. Brenda Harris, And she made me one day because they had me sit in for Dr. Dozier as an interim assistant principal. And she said, young man, come here. And I said, okay, Ms. Harris, I'm on my way to this, hearing. What's going on? She said, I want you to just come in here and stand right here for a second. And next thing you know, she took this picture of me. And she said, one day, you're going to run Southfield High School. I know it's Southfield A&T, but the same mission still remained. And it's a part of my fabric as far as my leadership and understanding of how important it is to be a part of this community. My why is filtered in so many members that I had opportunity to teach as a teacher here in Southfield Public Schools. And I can't believe the amazing outcomes that we've seen, that student legacy. So I'm truly here to be a servant of this district, to make sure we continue to chase that strong student legacy and make sure that name stays amongst the positive leaders in our community, because it's very important to me to be a part of that legacy and moving forward. Also, too, I wanted to thank Mrs. Powell and Mr. Sarkar for keeping Southfield afloat, because I know it's been a tough transition. You have so much going on, but it's truly, and how can I say it? It rejuvenates me to have an opportunity to be a part of such a passionate leadership team. Our educators are so proud to have that Southfield A&T name, and I'm just so proud to be a new member of that team as well. Thank you.
Trustees, any questions?
Is that easy?
Well,
You already heard enough. That's right. And I appreciate that too. I really do. I know that the standard is high, and that's why my wife, we had some courageous conversations about what I was doing when I pursued this position. But there was no way I wasn't going to come back home to Southfield Public Schools. I mean, this is definitely a choice, and it's a choice that I really truly feel like it's a calling. And I want to let everyone know, especially the community members, your families, your children are so important to us. It keeps our energy going because, as you know, these are all thankless positions. And thank you for what you're doing here, these long nights and having these difficult conversations, because our children need to see us in these roles and still fighting and being champions for them in their future. And also, too, sometimes we got to get out of their way. We got to give them what they need so they can be successful. And that's what I'm truly want to be a part of, and it's a part of me. Hopefully you can hear the passion and the cracks in my voice. It's not about nervousness, it's just that I'm ready to get to work. So they showed me, and I had a chance to meet with Miss English and Mrs. Venables. Trust me, they're not holding up. They're going to give it to me to get to work. So I'm very excited about that opportunity.
Thank you.
Ms. Reese.
So, Mr. Reese, you lifted these two individuals, and Board President lifted them earlier, and I know that we are all very fond of your leadership team there at the high school. So if I could just ask Ms. Searles Powell and Mr. Sakar to join you at the podium. I think the community should see the amazing leadership team together at Southfield A&T. Thank you. Thank you all for all that you do, the late nights, the early mornings, and you're right, we will give it to you tomorrow morning at 7:30, so be there, and we will see you then. You are also in the process of interviewing for a third assistant principal at the high school. I understand that that interview is scheduled for Friday. Okay, so I just wanted to update the board on that as well.
And a
Thank-
dynamic counselor, too, as well, for Thursday.
Okay, very good, and a counselor. That's a very important position, very, very, very important position. Okay, thank you all.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
I actually have a motion regarding the mock elections that came up earlier. The relationship, the partnership rather, with the National Congress of Black Women, Oakland County, by way of Diana Pegler. I do move that Southfield Public Schools continues or reinstates that partnership in whatever process that looks like in terms of schools for this upcoming election and mock election season.
Support.
It's been properly moved and supported. Board Secretary, please call for the vote.
Trustee Smith Thomas. Yes. Trustee Benison.
Yes.
Trustee Joyce.
Yes.
Trustee Johnson.
Yes.
Trustee Hicks.
Yes.
Trustee Bland.
Yes.
Myself, yes. Unanimous.
Motion carried. Is there any other, oh,
James Jackson.
everybody heard that?
James Jackson will be the point person for Ms. Diana Pegler relative to the mock elections.
So we have an action item, the personnel report. Report 6109.
So moved.
Support.
It's been properly moved and supported. Any discussion? Trustee Hicks, please. Thank you.
So I know I made a comment when Dean Bogans was at the podium about both him and Principal Reese are new to the district. Both are taking over new schools. Principal Reese is from here, so he's somewhat familiar with the culture. But with the turnover that we've had over at A&T, what are we doing to give them the appropriate supports, mentorship, for them to get acclimated into the district, as well as so that as they're implementing their plans and leading their building, the things that may be not as, from an administrative perspective, what supports are we giving them so that they're successful, so that we don't have to seek other candidates to replace them? And more importantly, we mentioned, I'm about to say Brother Sakar, but Mr. Sakar and Ms. Soros Powell, what are we doing to help them, give them the supports for succession planning, so that, you know, when both Bogans and Reese get us into the top 5 in the state, and they're ready to step into their shoes and be equally as successful, or if not more.
So one of the things we're doing is taking a three-prong approach. We have supports here in the district whereby central office is always willing, ready to support any administrator in the district. We are also looking to get some of our seasoned individuals, and I'm looking at 2 in particular, to help mentor some of our 3 new administrators. Yes, I'm looking at you, Principal Jackson. And then also we are looking to our ISD to partner them with individuals there over respective departments where they may not be able to provide them with the day-to-day commentary here in Southfield. They've worked with Southfield for the last 20, 30, 40 years, and they can give that lens from their respective departments. And then also, and I know you don't want to hear this, Michigan State University has a K-12 outreach program, and they are willing to assign successful retired principals to come and work in districts with principals. So I've reached out to them as well to get some support here on the ground from individuals that have been extremely successful in their careers.
Any other discussion? It's been properly moved and supported. Board Secretary, please call for the vote.
Trustee Benison.
Yes.
Trustee Smith Thomas.
Yes.
Trustee Joyce.
Yes.
Trustee Johnson.
Yes.
Trustee Hicks.
Yes.
Trustee Bland.
Yes.
Myself, yes. Unanimous.
Motion carried. Welcome, Mr. Reese. And everybody else. Oh, you know what? And everybody else, yes. It was kind of a continuation. It just kept going. So information items. Monthly financial report for June, July, and August. And I'm just going to lump the bill disbursement report in there with it. I believe everyone was emailed that information. I believe it was pretty lengthy, and we're trying to save trees. The check register is in your packet because it was sent out via email earlier today, but Ms. Foster was kind enough to print all pages of that out. Trustees, is there any discussion?
Board President, I have a question regarding the Financial Oversight Committee. We talked about reinstating committees. We've heard several concerns from the community, the audit, so on and so forth. Where are we with putting that committee back in place?
Treasurer Johnson, I believe that committee was one that we discussed 2-3 meetings back. Treasurer Johnson has said he would chair the committee. I know that we have an audit with Plant and Moran that's currently being conducted. I would defer to Treasurer Johnson about whether or not you wanted those findings or how you would want to proceed with this committee.
Do we have members for that committee?
So to go a little further in the conversation, we talked about a committee of the whole. I remember this. Considering what we have going on in the district with finances, the committee of the whole was going to review, I believe, the audit, and forgive me because I don't remember the exact verbiage that and the cadence, but we talked about a committee of the whole because we need to sit down and have all eyes on specific things. And it would be more advantageous of us, and I think it would be smarter of us to approach this as a committee of the whole, to have a finance committee meeting. So Trustee Smith-Thomas, that has been the conversation. I think we have a lot of things going on with our financials, and that was the conversation. But I also know we are waiting for some numbers on specific things as well. And I had a phone call with Plant and Moran. I reported out our audit is being conducted. They are going to provide us with more bi-weekly updates as to where we are. And then instead of waiting for them to report out to us, we are going to convene and discuss the findings as we go along. So that has been the conversation regarding finance thus far. I have not received anything from Plan and Moran to date. Trustees, any more discussion on information items A and B? Hearing none. Public participation. If you wish to address the board regarding a school-related issue that has not yet been resolved by school administration, please submit a comment card immediately. Comments are limited to 3 minutes per individual. As a matter of fairness, speakers with complaints against individuals are asked not to mention any persons by name. Complaints concerning employees pursuant to Board Policy 9130 should be brought to the attention of school principals or other administrators before coming to the Board of Education. Your cooperation is appreciated. Dr. Gunn.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Due to the lateness of the hour, I will be very, very brief. I would like for you all to consider one thing. Right now, we are all where? In the city of Southfield. As we move forward, I'd like for the board, I'd like for the district to consider collaborating with the city on the plans that you all are making related to the bond proposal. When you're looking at creating community centers, think about collaborating with the city, not just the city council, but the people who actually do the work. The Parks and Recreation, the Planning Commission, all of us pay taxes, and we pay city taxes. So let's look at maximizing all of those resources. I'm challenging you with that. I've sent many emails to Mr. Jackson. I'm still waiting on a date. If you need me to help facilitate that, I'd be happy to. I also serve as the chair of the Planning Commission here in the city of Southfield. I've yet to see a petition come from the school district related to any development. We have to make a change because we all pay taxes, and we pay taxes to the city of Southfield and Lathrop Village. I'm not excluding anyone, but we're all in this together. Thank you.
Thank you. For the good of the order.
Board President, I can't speak for the good of the order, but I do want to lift something that I sent to you earlier today, as we have a student that is missing.
Yes, please.
I wanted to lift to our community that we have a student that is missing, that left their home. They did not leave from the school district. They left from their home without permission. They are a 16-year-old youngster. It was on WDIV earlier today. I just want to implore everyone to keep their eyes and ears open, because these are all our babies, and we need to make sure that they all get home safely. I can't divulge the student's name, although it is posted. I can't give any additional details, but I do encourage everyone to just keep your eyes and ears open for these young people, because their brains are not fully developed in high school, in elementary school, or in middle school. Sometimes in their beginning part of college, their brains are still developing. So we need to help them. We need to guide them. We need to encourage them and nurture them as they continue to matriculate to young adulthood. Thank you.
All right, thank you. So I would like to conclude my remarks with a few things. First of all, welcoming the students, families, and of course the educators back for the school year, and really wishing you the greatest success. Please know that I am also a resource. Email me, call me. Those who have leveraged me know that I am very approachable, and I certainly advocate for our district. I have no problem being the bad guy and raising the tough conversations and the questions, of course, in grace and love, and also in advocacy, because I am an educator at heart, as well as a parent, and I want to make sure that we are all being successful and being set up for success. As well, I do want to ask that we return back to having building level events being added on the board's calendar, specifically curriculum nights. I would love the opportunity to come out for your curriculum nights. I am also a mom, a busy mom, so, you know, I don't always have the free time to come in and out of the buildings. And in my 8 years on the board, I've learned that it's probably in my better interest that I not be in the buildings unless I have official business in the building and an invite. So please invite me, and I'm asking and requesting that we be invited to curriculum nights as we are gearing up for this school year. Also, I do understand the training for the new evaluation, or the evaluation tool for the superintendent, has taken place. And so I do want to ask, since we are in September and we do have the duty and the obligation to evaluate the superintendent in December for the year, not the school year, but the year, the calendar year of 2022, I want to ask what goals have been identified for and or by the superintendent for this evaluation, And what are the specific data points we're going to use to measure effectiveness? If that can be provided. Also, Board President, you did mention that there's a lot of moving parts and a lot of things happening in the district, and I do agree. And so I do have a question as it relates to priority keeping for agenda setting. Who's tracking when we have conversations about putting committees in place and making sure that that comes up on an agenda when the agendas are being set? Who's tracking the priorities of the different moving parts as it relates to this district? Let me just check my notes here. I'm sure the staff's doing a wonderful job with making sure parent communications in collaboration with the parent university that was presented today, but also parent communications are being sent out to set up our families as it relates to the assessment calendar and our upcoming assessments. Dr. Green, if you could share what those dates are and when the board can expect to receive the data as it relates to where our students are. Thank you.
Does anybody else have for the good of the order down there?
No, we're going to pass the mic all the way down, then I'm going to ask for it back.
Do you want to answer the data question?
Well, the calendar has been published. Trustee Smith-Thomas, the calendar has been published on the district website, and I did send a copy of that to the trustees. I will re-forward that to everyone, and then I will get with the assessment department and get you those specific dates. In regard to the priorities, I believe you're going to address those. Okay.
A board action chart was sent out, I believe, 2 days ago. It can be updated with any items that any trustees need. I have asked for input. I'm one person, so I try to grab everything. I try to stay in communication with the trustees to find out what is pertinent to their agenda as things arise or as we see that they need to be prioritized differently. By all means, let's add them, and then let's add them to agendas as we see fit. I have no issue with anyone requesting anything being put on an agenda for a meeting. Does anyone else have anything for the good of the order? So if the board, the first item on that board action chart is a touch point with the superintendent for her evaluation. I have suggested, and it does say suggested date of our October study session, giving roughly 6 weeks for the superintendent to be aligned, us to be aligned on what we want to discuss and create an agenda for that study session as it pertains to the superintendent evaluation. Anything else? October study session? It will be the 4th Tuesday of October. Mm-hmm. Anyone else for the good of the order? Hearing none. What time is it? Future meeting. Oh, Jesus, future meetings, what do we have? Thanks. Future meetings, September 27th, special board meeting study session. Trustees, we will invite our student board representatives from UHSA and Southfield A&T. Thank you, administrators, for providing those names to us. We will be interviewing them next Tuesday. Thank you to the trustees who have volunteered to interview. And then October 11th, we have a regular board meeting. I believe that ALC is coming up in October. which is the Annual Leadership Conference, MASB. A few of the trustees and myself are all going to tour West Bloomfield Middle School as part of the OSCBA meeting, and that is on the 21st, I believe, Wednesday. Excited to report back what West Bloomfield has done with this brand-new campus for their middle school. Other than that, it is what is that? I can't. Thank you. Everybody can see better than me. 9:18, and we are adjourned. Principal Dean, stop